Hello Raiders. Today we're going to be going through the complete history of Ark Raiders, the story so far, and what I think is going to happen going forward. So strap in and let's go. Now, the history of the game, the furthest back we've got is a period in time called the collapse. Many generations ago is the only time frame given, but due to the level of decline we can make a safe assumption that this was more than 100 years ago. Based on the files, it says that we saw natural disasters increase which caused this collapse, but I believe this is potentially false or incorrect. We do see earthquakes returning at the end of Act 1 in-game. I don't really see any other evidence of natural disasters affecting the world. Buried cities fairly intact besides being covered in sand. The spaceport towers are still standing and so on. But I have theories as to why this lie was given for future archaeologists. Stay tuned to the end of the video to find out. Now, after the collapse, it urges humanity to come together and scramble to create space travel. This is the Exodus. Now, whatever the coming destruction may be, we obviously had enough hope that we had time to create space travel to escape whatever impending doom was coming. I believe various companies we see throughout the game made a joint effort in Spaceport to create a spaceship and escape the impending doom. Now, we see J. Cosma Ventures as a major player in Stella Montis. Stella Montis is clearly somewhere where the spaceships had been designed. We also see Yangshu warehouses that we have to investigate. Yangshu is the main company that owns the land for the spaceport, I believe. And we have other companies like Manticore, which I believe they sound like a weapons maker or defense provider. These likely would have helped as well. Now, what does this remind you of? Now, for me, this very, very much reminds me of Horizon Zero Dawn, where you had a genius way back thousands of years ago who created machines that were self-sufficient, and you had a jealous competitor that decided to try and do the same but make them more machines, causing the collapse of humanity because these machines then could not be reeled in to differentiate foe from friend. I don't think that's what happened here, but there are quite a lot of similarities, I believe, in what I think the history of this world is and the history of Horizon Zero Dawn is. Now, after this we get to Sunrise, which is interesting because humanity at this point in time hadn't built underground cities, I believe. And we still somehow survived all these natural disasters and impending doom, and we done what we usually do. We stayed hopeful and we cracked on. We decided to create farmland, despite, I believe, there not being any fertile ground. We made the hydroponic domes near dam. We created fertilizer. They tried to create other various strands of wheat and so on and so forth to try and manage food. In game, Shani might be one of the only people that is old enough to remember this time, but unfortunately, sunrise also led to a sunset when the first wave hit. Just as humanity had began to cultivate farmland and hope was reaching a high crescendo, the machines crashed down and brought that all to an end, and the first raiders were born. They discovered Ark weaknesses, they built camps and outposts, and ultimately over years pushed the Ark back at the cost of many, many lives. This culminated in the Battle of Victory Ridge, which is a huge section of the dam map where you see a lot of barren husks and many collapsed buildings. The battle saw the end, potentially, of barrens, but the rumours out there say that some still exist. The domes were fought for vehemently thanks to the help of Tien's mother, Major Ava. She gave her life during the battle. The win was, again, short-lived. The second wave is what we're currently living through as raiders. This is the time where we're now living underground in Toledo, and specifically we live in a subsection of that city called Speranza, which is Italian for hope. Now, unfortunately, the second wave isn't glamorous or inspiring at all. The Ark went on full offensive, and due to the increased Ark presence, living topside is just not possible. Or is it? Because we have seen evidence of the Blue Gate Nomads throughout the game and how they have been able to disassemble Ark without weapons. But again, that's going to come into the end of the video with my theories and how I think the game is going to progress. Now, we also have some new Ark that weren't present in the first wave. We have the Queen. She regularly protects a harvester that fires samples into the sky, and the Matriarch, whose goal is unclear, but is heavily equipped with weaponry. Now we're caught up with the bare bones history of Ark Raiders. Let's just delve into what I think this all means. Now let's first look at the actual Ark and what they are doing. Okay, so you've got wasps and a hornet. The hornet is meant to Stun a foe, the wasps are meant to kill it. They're clearly just there for patrol and protection. You've got Rocketeers. Again, they just look like they're there to kill whatever comes across their path that potentially poses a threat. So nothing like rats that we've seen throughout Spaceport departure buildings, but humans, yeah, they would fit the bill. And we have Couriers that sometimes crash land. They transport soil samples. We have Surveyors who analyze the land, as well as probes that shoot down and analyze the area around them. The biggest hint of all though is the Harvester. Where does this show up? It shows up in Red Lake to analyze water, and Blue Gate to seemingly analyze the land. And where do they send samples? Well, back from where the Ark came from, to space. Now why would machines care about soil samples? Well, what do we know about space so far? Well, we know, potentially, that several companies came together and created space travel to escape an impending doom. Now, if they did escape Earth, Stella Montis points towards potential research towards things like cryo-storage or ways to keep them alive in other shapes or forms, which I think Lance is going to be a big part of a story later on, because he's nothing like the androids that were present in the medical facility before. In fact, I think Lance may be from space. Anyway, I'm getting off track. Several generations later, with these companies in space, they had time to refine their capabilities. They weren't rushing to create a spaceship. Instead, they decided to come together to create a way to see if Earth was ready to be re-inhabited. So they created Ark. And that's what the Queen does with the Harvester. She goes down and she checks the soil samples, and you've got probes, you've got the Surveyor, and you've got other Ark as well that are primarily designed to just protect certain areas. Look at the Shredder. The Shredder is in Stella Montis purely as a security drone, and they're everywhere in there. The Shredder is a unique Ark that isn't in any other map. It is only in Stella Montis, and it does a 360 shotgun blast, and it is fast at chasing, and it is difficult to kill. I think that points towards it being one of the first iterations of Ark that was created. I don't think that comes from space. I think the Shredders were left on Stella Montis, much like the turrets and the sentries, and it was there to protect whoever was working on Stella Montis. But what is the reason for the Queen? What's the reason for the Matriarch? And as we've seen in the trailer, the King? Well, this is where my theory gets a little bit juicy. My theory is that they didn't try to escape Earth because of natural disasters, because there's no evidence of that. There's no evidence of the thing that I'm about to tell you either, but I do think it's more likely. I think with the earthquakes, there is something underground that is threatening to wipe humanity out. That's what I think the Matriarch's mission is. If it sees these things or thing, it kills it, or tries to. Now maybe this is when the King will come down, when this monster finally unveils itself, when the big earthquake hits. Now, this also comes into the geography of the game. What is in the vicinity of Buried City and Dam Battlegrounds that is quite prominent that we've not really seen anything of yet? That's right, a volcano. Now, in Italy, which is where this is based, but it seems the developers have taken a mishmash of the geography and sort of put loads of things in an Italian setting. Now, this is meant to be set around Naples with Mount Vesuvius. Vesuvius, in terms of its size, isn't one of the biggest volcanoes out there. The main aspect of the Vesuvius volcano is that it can erupt very quickly. I think the volcano might actually be based on Mount Etna. Now, why Mount Etna? Well, in terms of land mass for a single funnel, Mount Etna is the largest volcano on Earth. I think there is something within the Earth's crust that is trying to come out. That's why I think humanity had a collapse. I think some of these things got out 100, 200 years ago and were ripping humanity to shreds, and there was nothing we could do to fight back. Nothing at all. So I suppose to answer the question from the start of the video as to why would humanity lie and say that the collapse was due to natural disasters. So I'd imagine that much like our current media and world, the media probably lied to try and reduce panic, and they were probably paid to lie by these corporations that were trying to escape Earth. Another theory might be that the reason they lied is the plan was, if humanity managed to survive, that these beasts might naturally die due to not having a food source. It's unclear yet, but I do think that the reason humanity fled to space is not due to natural disasters or floods or anything like that, because, well, we've already seen in game that they could quite easily have created an underground solution. So why wouldn't they have just stayed underground? Well, I think the reason they didn't stay underground is because there was something there, and I think that's going to eventually force Speranza and Toledo to go back above ground, and that'll be quite interesting if Ark is still not seeing us as friends. But then what's going to happen there? Well, I think at some point the human civilization that is likely in space is going to need to come down, and Ark may then be on our side. And then likely there will need to be people within that civilization, much like Toledo, that disagree with the current partnership with the civilization on Earth. They'll probably say things like the plan was to start fresh, these people have been killing each other, they clearly can't be trusted, much like the interactions we have as raiders topside. So they're going to come downside, and they're not going to trust us, and they won't want to turn Ark off for us as enemies. That's the way I think the game might go if that is the case. So that's why some semblances of Ark were created. That's why you've got turrets and the guns. I believe these are older versions of Ark because they're placed there. They're not shot down from space, but obviously due to the game they just sometimes change where they are. So when this kaiju and maybe its children finally unveil itself, well, that's when I think the Blue Gate Nomads are going to come out as well, because we're going to need to utilize Ark, because we can't be fighting other raiders and whatever these monsters are at the same time. We might even see the return of some of the movement capabilities that we saw in the Embark Diaries. Here's a little preview of what that looks like. Now, how might we get that? Well, when we start to utilize the Ark's thruster systems and everything else to maybe create, not like this in the game, but maybe things like jetpacks or things to help enhance jumps where you can get on top of the Queen, the Matriarch or other Ark, and you can stop yourself from falling from a great height. I think a lot of this stuff's coming, but I've got a lot of ideas on that, and I also want to go through the city of Speranza itself and how I think that's going to affect the future story when it comes to the underground team versus Celeste and so on and so forth. So if you're interested in hearing about that, don't forget to subscribe. And if you enjoyed this theory, or if you've got your own as to what Ark are and why they come from space, let me know below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.